Hi, this is Kevin Trainer. Welcome to part 4 of my tutorial for the migrations coding assignment that's part of the Easy University tutorial project. So if you haven't done parts 1 through 3, please go do those. Here's what we're doing in part 4. We're really doing the hard part, okay? As you will recall, we are changing the design of the semester table such that it's a more properly designed relational database table. And the result is that it's a more well-formed relational database. So, in terms of goodness of relational database designs, it scores substantially higher. Okay, and what are the practical things that are good about the new design? Well, primarily we have controlled the values for year and period, so that when the user goes to create a new semester, they can only create a semester from the years that are in the year table and the periods that are in the period table, and that controls the value of semesters to legal values. Now, as you may recall, we did not create the typical pages to list the years and create the years and change the years and delete the years, or for period. What we're doing for those is, because they're such raw infrastructure-oriented tables, we've decided that it's going to be just fine to have whoever's acting as a system administrator go into the Django admin app and change those tables directly in the admin app. Okay, and we already have that all done. We've created the year table. It's been populated using the admin app. Oh, I'm sorry, not using the admin app. It's been populated using the migration. And we created the period table, and we populated that using the migration. In fact, we even, in the year table and in the period table, we even, when we populated them, we even created an extra row in each of them that have these temporary values with keys equal to 9999 that are going to make it easier for us to do the conversion of a semester. So what do we have to do for a semester? Well, currently we have in the current version of a semester, we just have a single column or field, semester name, which is a text name. So by the time we're done with the conversion, we'll have dropped that. Okay. And we'll have added year ID and period ID. Okay. And those are foreign keys that are going to point to the table. Okay. And then in terms of the conversion, while we're going to need to go through and actually hook them up to the proper year and to the proper period, such that they're properly converted. Okay, so let's go about this. What needs to be done? I just want to say that I'm going to show you all the code for this. Okay, so we're going to be working together, and some of the code I've even put in a starter file. to make it easier for you to copy and to concentrate on the things I'd like you to concentrate on, okay? So that should make it a fun part of the tutorial. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to go into models and take a look at where the semester is, okay, and it needs some work, okay. Now, how much do we want to change? Of the changes that have to be made, how many of them do we want to make right now? The answer is we want to make all of them, okay? So what we're going to tell Django is we're going to tell it how the model, how the semester model class is going to look when the conversion is done, okay? Now, as we convert the external relational database with through the use of a custom-coded migration, we're going to change the external relational database kind of in steps. But the internal model, all one step for changes, okay? All right, so when we're done, let's make this a little bit bigger. When we're done, will we have a semester ID? Sure we will. Will we have a semester name field on the model that's going to generate a semester name column? No, we won't. So let's just delete that. Okay. So delete that. Okay. Now, are we going to have additional fields? Yes. We're going to have a year and a period. Okay. Now these are going to be foreign key fields that point to rows in the year table and the period table. All right, so I'm going to copy my code for year out of my already baked version. Okay, so year is going to go right here. Okay, so let's see. It's a year is going to be implemented with a foreign key field. It's connected to the year model class. Okay, the name in the other direction is going to be semesters because it's going to hook back here, and we have to specify the behavior on delete, and on delete we want to protect. Okay, so we don't want any cascading deletes in our database. We don't have any data that's transient enough that we would want it to be easily deleted. The classic example that I give when you'd want to say on delete cascade is when you have something like a shopping cart, and when you delete the shopping cart, you want to it'd be okay to delete the detail, the kind of order items or shopping cart items that are in the shopping cart. But we don't. That's pretty transient data, and we don't have anything like that, so we're going to protect it. Okay, and for the other field that we're going to add to the model, period, we're going to have a pretty much parallel design. Okay, so we've added that now. It's going to be a foreign key field. It points to period. On the way back, okay, when you look from the other side, from the period side, the related name is going to be semesters, and on delete we want to protect. Is that all we have to change? No, turns out we need to change more things. Okay, like what? Well, let's look down at this code for the string method, okay? Right now it's returning a specially it's returning a string, and that's semester name. Well, we don't have a semester name field anymore. We just got rid of it, okay? So we don't want that. What do we want? Well, I'll show you what we want here. I'm going to copy this code out of my already baked version. Okay. Now, one of the things that you might have noticed on these string methods is that when we have just a single field, we don't surround that single field with parens. So let me go find one that, well, that's not going to work. Let's find one, instructor name. Do I have one? I must have one somewhere. I'm going to pause this so I can find the proper example to show you. Be right back. Found it. Wasn't too far away. So on in the string method for period, we're only returning a single field, okay? We do not surround that with parens. In fact, if we put parens around it, you'll see that it'll accept it. But it'll give you the squiggly gray underline, and it says, remove redundant parentheses. All right. So I'm going to undo that. Okay, so that's good. So let's go now to semester, where we've got the two fields that we are combining. And why do we put these into parentheses? It's not just to group them. It's to turn them into this construct called a tuple, which is a multi-field data structure. Okay? So if, in fact, you're passing back as the value of string more than one field, and you want to use this syntax that we have here, as soon as you get up to two fields, you have to surround it with the parens to create a tuple. Okay? So this is, we're going to say self. We want to point through the year field, and then on year, what's the value that we want to bring back? We want to bring back year. Okay? And with the period, we want to point through the period field. Okay? And then when we get over to the period model class, what do we want? Well, we want the field over there called period name. Okay? You'll notice that it is okay here to not turn year explicitly into a string, even though it's an int. And why is that? Well, because we're using this construct where we're explicitly saying that we want to convert it into a string. And so you can just give a reference to the year int as itself, and there's enough information here to tell Python, oh, they want to turn that into a string, a hyphen, a string. Okay? So that's what we're going to do with that. We had to change that. Are we done? Well, no, we're not done yet. Okay, let's think about this. Let's go down. We're using semester name right now. Yeah, we're using semester name for ordering. Well, we can't order with the semester name. Why? There is no semester name field anymore. Okay, well, let's look at how we're going to update ordering. Okay. So we're going to order by saying that we want, we pass it a list that has the year chased across from the year field. This dunder here, this double underscore, it says the year field pointing at the object and get the year field from that object. So this is going to take the year off of the year model class, and this is going to take the period sequence off of the period model class instance. Okay, and so we're going to have it in order of year and period sequence. This is what's going to put it into the order of spring, summer, fall, instead of the alphabetical order that we've been seeing, fall, spring, summer. Okay, so this is how we get the order that we want. Okay, are we done yet? No. We have to think about the uniqueness. Okay. So we want to add another meta annotation, unique together. Okay. And the combination of year and period have to be unique together. Now, do we need to chase these across into the things that year and period point to? Now it turns out that we don't have to. We can just say that year and period, which are essentially foreign keys, they just have to be unique values themselves. Okay? So, are we done? I'd say we're done. So let's review the things that we changed on semester. We have deleted semester name. We have added year and period. Okay? We have changed the string function to return the same string that we were getting it before, but we build it out of the year field on the year table and the period name field on the period table. And then we go down, and in terms of the ordering, we need more sophisticated ordering. So it's going to be in terms of the year field on the year table and the period sequence field on the period table. And then we need to force these things to be unique together. And we do that by using year and period. Okay? All right. Are we ready to test? No, we're not ready to test because we haven't done the conversion. Okay? If we're going to test, then our code is going to connect to the relational database, and the relational database hasn't been migrated yet. So now we have to figure out a migration. So let's kind of do that the way we would typically do it. It's not going to work the way we would typically do it, but let's go experience that for ourselves. Okay? So let's go and start up manage.py. Okay. And let's say we want to show migrations. Show migrations. And we're applied all through migration 006, which in my version of the product, 005 was we added the period table and we populated it. In 006, we added the year table and we populated that. Okay? And so the next thing to do would be to do in 007. Okay? Now, what if we just wanted it to create a migration for us? Can it create an automatic one for the schema like we've done before? Well, it's going to turn out it can't. But so if we say make migrations and then we say course info, could it come up with a schema migration automatically like we just did with a period and a year? Well, the answer is going to be no. And why? It says you're trying to add a non-nullable field period to a semester without a default. We can't do that. The database needs something to populate existing rows. Okay, so when we add that field, we're going to have to when you add a field to a table that's already got rows in it, okay, it has to have some kind of value to put into that field for the rows that are already there. And we haven't told it that there's a default value that it could put in it. So we could walk through this a while, but it turns out that once you have this kind of situation where you're going to be either adding or dropping fields, you are going to need to create a custom migration. And the way that we're going to do that, so we're just going to, right now we're going to quit, okay? And what we're not going to do is we're not going to change the model, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to hand code the migration such that it makes the changes in the database incrementally in the right order, okay? And when we're finally done, it's going to match this code that we currently have for a semester, okay? Again, what we've done is we've gone right to the end code. We don't have any intermediate code. All the intermediate coding is going to go into the migration. Okay, so how could we get a migration file to work with? Well, that's not too hard to do. We could say make migrations course info, and we've done this before, and say we want it to be empty, so we're going to put all the code into it. And then let's call it, what am I going to call it? I'm going to call it the same thing I called it when I did it in my previous coded version. Oh, I'm going to call it -- name. It's going to be called semester schema and data conversion. I think that's pretty explicitly what we want. So it creates that for us, and of course it's going to be empty. All right. So, and I think I told you back in part 3, or maybe part 2, that if in fact you use this approach to create a migration file, and it doesn't show up over in your panel here where you do your navigation, you can just run show migrations again, show migrations, and all of a sudden it will pop up. I've had I've had 3 or 4 instances while I've been working where I can't see it until I do a show migrations. All right, that's that. So let's open that and let's take a look at it. We're going to say, oh, well, it doesn't have any operations in it. It doesn't have any other code. Why did we generate an empty one? Well, we generated an empty one because it hooked it to the one before. It may be true that yours is um, not going to be numbered number 6. Okay? If you're sticking with all your code, if you haven't copied my code, and you did migrations, if you did more migrations or fewer migrations than I did, your number is going to be different. Okay, so when we generate this, we get the numbers to sync up just fine. All right, so how are we going to get to our code? Well, it turns out that I've created for you a starter file. So what's that look like? Well, when you download it and you unzip it, you're going to get a file that looks like this. Let's bring it over into here. Okay, so let me make this a little bigger. So it's called 0007 semester schema and data conversion .py, and this one's actually populated. Okay, so what could you do here? Well, let's open it in a text editor. I'm just going to open mine with my favorite text editor, which on the Mac is TextMate. And it's going to pop up right here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all except the generated code, which is way down here. This stuff. Okay. I'm going to take everything except this code, and I'm going to copy it over top of that. So first of all, I'm going to take all of my operations, okay, and I'm going to copy them. So this is all of my operations. Copy that, go back to my code, and I'm going to put it over top of operations. Okay, that's good. So I've got that. So then I've got class migration and the dependency. That's good. So I want to get some room for the code that goes on top. And I'm going to go to that. And I'm going to copy everything all the way up to the imports. So this is the code I'm keeping. This is the code I'm not overriding. But the other one, I'm going to go all the way up to the imports. Okay? And now I can discard that for a minute, and I'm going to go up here, and I'm even going to take my imports, and I'm going to paste over top of them. Okay? So this is how to get the numbering from generating the next migration for your project and combine it with the code that I gave you for this semester schema and data conversion migration. Okay? All right, so let's get a look at this code because it's pretty extensive. So I'm going to close this manage.py from now, and we'll see that. And let's give ourselves a little more room. So how long is it? I think it's like 140 lines long. No, it's even longer. Let's see, we don't want that blank line at the end. This is 184 lines long. So this is the reason why I've given you the code in a starter file. Is what I'd like you to be able to do is to concentrate on understanding the code and understanding how to test the code instead of how to type the code. Okay, so I've done all the typing for you. All right, so let's go through the code and see what we have. All right, so some things are pretty pretty straightforward. Okay. For instance, these run Pythons are data conversions. They're data migrations. We've done that before. So we do a data migration for the to convert the semester data. Okay. You'll remember that we had added an extra row to the period table. Well, what do? We remove the extra row from the period table. Then we remove the extra year from the year table. Okay. Those three run Pythons are the conversions itself. Okay, we do the conversions, we hook everything up the right way, we do the conversions, and then we get rid of that temporary data. We get rid of the temporary row in period, we get rid of the temporary row in year. Well, what's all the rest of the stuff? Well, the rest of the stuff, we're telling it how to change the database in the right order. Okay? Now, I am going to take this first migration, okay, and I'm going to copy it. No, yeah, I'm going to copy it. Don't copy it yourself. So how can I keep you from doing that? Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna copy. I'm really gonna copy it. Okay, and then I want to come down to this remove. Okay, and I've got this here. Okay, and I'm just going to put that in there as a comment, and when we get to it, I'll explain that. And in fact, I'm also going to comment it out up here, okay, because we haven't gotten there yet. Okay, good. So let's walk through the code. Let's understand the code, what the code is supposed to do. Okay, so we add the year field to the semester model. Okay, well that makes sense. And then we add the semester field. Then we add the period field to the semester model. Okay. Now, what are the details that we give for those two? Well, they're based on foreign keys. This code always looks pretty close to the code that you add to the model class. Okay. The only thing that's different is that we say that, in the external relational database, we want it to have a default value, okay? We're going to say that it has a default value such that when we do the conversion, we'll know what to put into year. So when we do the conversion, it's going to go, I don't know what to put into year, and we'll just say, put in 9999. And when we do the conversion for period, it's going to put in 9999. All right. So then we're going to run the conversions. Okay. And we'll look at the conversions in detail. But again, we're going to hook up each of the semesters to the proper year and period. Okay. And then we're going to remove the extra row in the period table. And we're going to remove the extra row in the year table. And what's the next thing that we want to do? Well, the next thing that we really want to do, and instead of have to do in order to do what we want to do, is we want to remove a semester name. We've done the conversion, okay, And when we do the conversion, you'll see how do we find out the number of the year? We extract it from the string semester name. How do we find out the name of the period? We extract it from the string semester name. So now that we've used the string semester name for the conversion, we can drop that column, and that's what we're doing here. Okay. Now, what we're going to find out is that when we go to drop that column, if we haven't told the relational database that it can have a default value, then we can't run it backwards. And I'll explain when we get to that part of the testing. And so that we have to say, oh, before we drop this, we have to say, in order to be able to unapply this change, we have to be able to say they don't have to be unique. You don't have to worry about them being unique. And when you add one, you can give it this temporary value. Okay, and again, I'll give you the details on that when we get there. Okay, so this is one of the difficult aspects of dropping fields. Okay, and I have to tell you that when I learned how to do this, I had my difficulties. All right, what's the next thing that we do? Well, remember how we had said that for year and period that they had default values, and that was in order to make the conversion work okay? Well, they don't really have default values. So what we do is that we alter the fields back, so now they have no default values. Okay. Yeah. You know what we have to add back, which I don't think we added back, was the unique equal true. Sorry. I think we had to add back the unique equal true. Let's try adding back unique equal true here. Okay? Unique equal true. Yeah. I got away with that in my test. Unique. Oh, I don't want that. Okay. Unique equal true. All right. So, see, every time I go through it, I find a little bit more to make it a little more correct. Okay. So what I've done is I've said, okay, I want this to match what we said in the models. Okay. And what did we say in the models? You know what? We didn't say unique equal true in the models. Oh, I'm sorry. They don't have to be unique equal true. Do they have to be unique equal true? No, they don't have to be unique equal true. I take that back. Okay. This was the uniqueness of these things is covered by not the foreign keys, but the tables themselves. So, never mind. Take that out of there. All right. So, for instance, when you're coding a field directly in the table, you're going to have to control the uniqueness if you want it to be unique. If you're pointing to a row in another table, well, the uniqueness of those values is actually controlled by the rules for the table that you're pointing to. So we're okay there. I apologize for the confusion. Okay, and what's the other thing that we have? You see, we didn't have a unique constraint on these two in the model. And then the last thing that we do is that you'll remember in the model we had unique together. Okay? What about the ordering? Well, right now we're not doing the ordering. Okay? Largely because ordering is not a legitimate feature of all relational databases. Okay? It is the ordering of rows in relational databases is only defined depending upon the implementation that you're using. Okay, so we're not going to worry about the ordering here, but we are going to worry about the unique together. So what does that bring us to here? Well, this brings us to saying that in the semester table, we need a constraint to make sure that the year and the period combination for each row are unique from the combinations of them in other rows. Okay. All right. Now let's back up. Let's take this thing I turned into a comment, and let's uncomment that, right? So this should work here. Again, let's just go through the changes. We added the year, we added the period. Okay. We did the conversion. We hooked the rows in the semester table to the rows in year and the rows in period. We got rid of the extra data for the period. We got rid of the extra data for the year. Okay? We dropped the semester name. Before that, we had to tell it not to worry about temporary values. Okay? I'm not sure we have to say unique equals false. I think unique equals false is, we can take that out of there now. Let's take unique equals false out of there. Yeah. Okay. We just give it a default. Okay. Where are we? All right. So then we remove the semester name. We drop the two default values, the one on year and the one on period, and then we come back and we say that year and period have to be unique together. This should work. Alrighty. Now, are we just going to run this? Well, we're not ready to run it yet. Why? Well, because we didn't really look at the conversion code. Okay, so let's look at the conversion code. How does the conversion code work? All right, where are we calling it? Go down to the conversion code. Those are the run Pythons. Okay, we have a forward convert and a reverse convert. Okay, let's look at forward convert. Forward convert, you'll remember that each of the steps that we have has to be reversible. Okay, for the run Pythons, we have to explicitly say how to reverse them. We need a function that it does the conversion forward, and we need a function that does it in reverse. What about all the other steps? It turns out that the Django migration engine actually knows how to run them in reverse. It's incredible, but it does. Okay, so we don't have to give the reverse information for the database changes. It can figure them out. It's pretty powerful code. Okay, so here we've got convert and reverse convert. Forward convert and reverse convert. So what do we do in the beginning? Well, we've kind of seen this in our data conversions. It works like our data conversions, but it's a little bit more in this case of an update. Okay, in terms of the kind of theory of what we're trying to do, well, for each row that we have, we're going to look up the row in year and the row in period that it's supposed to be connected to, and connect it. That's all we're going to do. All right. So in order to do that, we need to be able to deal with these three model classes. Okay, so we're going to do this apps get model, course info, and then we're doing year, period, and semester. And we're referring to them as the year class, the period class, and the semester class. So we're going to get all the objects of the semester class, and we're going to iterate over them. Okay, within the for in construct, we're going to be using the term semester in order to refer to the object that we're on, the semester instance that we're on, the row that we're on. Okay. And so what's the first thing that we're going to do? Well, we need to look at this semester name, which we haven't dropped yet. So it's still in the database. So we need to look at the semester name. Okay. And we need to be able to extract the year from it. Okay. How do we do that? Well, we've got year number, space, hyphen, space, period name. And we wrote the code to do that. I'll show it to you in a minute. So we need to decode that. So we extract the year from the semester name. We put it into a variable called this year. We extract the period name from the semester name. We put it into a variable called this period name. Okay, and now we're going to get the year object that we are interested in. Okay, and we are going to connect it to the semester object that we are in. Now, how do you do this? Can you do this just with keys? No. In this API that we have for the model and for the migration, right? You have to actually go get the year object that you want. So we say the year object that we want, year class objects get year equals this year. So that's the year that you want. Okay. And then we say that semester year gets populated with the year object. Okay. So you don't, you're not populating the year field on semester with just the key. You have to retrieve the object and assign the object to the year field. And then, of course, you need to save your changes. And then we do the same thing with the period. So we say the period object is the period class objects get period name equal this period name. Okay, so now we get this back. and we say that the semester dot period equals the period object, and then we save that. And so now when we're done with this, where are we? Well, the string field semester name is still there. We've used it, but we haven't destroyed it. Okay. But what we've done with the information that was in it is that we have found the row in the year table that we're supposed to be connected to, and we connected to it. And we found the row in the period table that we're supposed to be connected to, and we connected to that. And so we're all connected up when we've done forward convert semester data. Well, how would we undo this? Well, we want to put everything back into the state where it was before we did this. Okay. And what's the state that it was in? Well, it turns out that all of the years were connected. They were all connected to year 9999. And they were all connected to period sequence 9999. And why did that happen? Well, if we go to our code, we'll see that we had a default. Okay. So when we added these fields, we said connect them up to row 9999 in both cases. And that's what it did. Okay. So how would we put it back in that state? Well, we would do this. We would get a reference to the year object for that row, and we would connect it to the 9999 year, and then we would save, and then we would do the same thing for the period, and we would save it. Would we change the semester name? No, because we didn't depopulate the semester name when we did the forward convert, so we don't have to repopulate it when we do the reverse convert. Okay, so this should put it back in the same state. Wow. All right, well that makes sense. Now, how did we do these things where, you remember, in the forward convert, we extracted the year and we extracted the period name? Well, we've just got helper functions, and here they are. Okay, so we've got extract year. It uses a regular expression to find a list of all the years. Okay, we're only expecting one. Okay, and it puts the list into a list called answer. We say if the length of answer is not equal to 1, we're going to raise a value error. Okay, we're only expecting to find 1. We're expecting to find 1 and only 1. Why are we raising an exception? The reason that we're raising an exception is that keeps the, if in fact we run a migration and it gets interrupted by an exception, it doesn't save the results in the databases. It never commits them. Okay? It rolls them back. So you want any kind of error that you encounter during a migration, you just don't want to print out some kind of a message that says trouble with the migration. You actually want to raise some kind of exception. And in this case, the value error is appropriate, I guess. And we say error found in year portion of semester name. And then we do a corollary thing for extracting the period. We're looking for either spring or summer or fall. Okay? Those are the only things that are supposed to be in there now that we're converting them. And then again, if we don't find exactly one, then we're going to raise an exception. Otherwise, we're just going to return the things that we found. Make sense? Okay. So that gets that done. So that's a lot of work for the conversion. If you go down here again in our operations, right? That was a lot of code just to get this done. Okay, but we figured out how to do it forward and backward. Okay, and then to remove the counter period data and to remove the year data. How did we do that? Well, you know what we did? We borrowed code directly out of the migrations that we did for period and year. If you remember the code that we did for period, we had the periods that we wanted to manipulate in this structure called periods. And then we had two methods, add a period data and remove period data. Okay. Well, what do we do here? Well, interestingly, we create a structure called periods. Where is periods? I'll find it. Did I not get the periods structure? It's possible that I didn't. They should be up at the very top. No, I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong file. I beg your forgiveness. It's been a long day here. Oh, here it is. Here's years and periods. Well, do we have all the years that we populate into the table or all the periods? No, we just have the ones that we want to get rid of. Okay? All right, so let's look at the code. Okay? We run the code in the opposite order. Okay. So, for instance, when we're running it forward, we remove the calendar period data. When we're running it backward, we add calendar period data. Okay, with the year, when we're running it forward, we remove year data. Okay, what are we removing? Well, just the 9999. Okay, and then we run it backwards, we add it back. Okay, so if you go down to what we've done on these two migrations, again, the forward is remove, and the backward is add. Well, this is just the opposite of the approach that we took in the migrations before. Okay, so that's how we get rid of the extra row in the period table. That's how we get rid of the extra row in the year table. Okay, so now we're going to start changing things. Okay. Again, we have to drop the semester name. Before that, we need to change this, and we need to go on and on and on. Okay. So, I'll tell you how I tested this. Okay. And if you're going to do one of these things, you would have to test it the same way. Okay. You want to make sure, well, here's what you could do. You could build this one operation at a time. Okay. What I've done is I've given the code for all the operations. And what you want to do is you want to test this one operation at a time. Okay, so what's the first operation? Well, it's fun, the first operation. Well, the first real operation we have now is this add field. Okay, well, you should be able to apply the migration and see that it added the field, and you should be able to unapply the migration and see that the field goes away in the external database. So you should be able to do this forward and backward. And then you ought to, so what do you do with the rest of them? You know what I do? I highlight them all and I toggle them all into a comment. I do. I do. So let me show you what I do. I highlight them all and I toggle them into a comment. Okay? And then I just test the first one. Okay? And then I reverse it out. And then I try to test 1 and 2 together. And then I try to back them out. And 1, 2, and 3 together. And then I try to back them out. Sooner or later, you're going to break it. Okay? Now, do you have to worry about tests that succeed? No, a test that succeeds, that you're able to apply the migration and you're able to unapply the migration, while it doesn't really hurt the external database. It's always in a good state. If you have a test that fails, though, you could get yourself into some kind of a weird state. Because here's what could go wrong. Okay, you could succeed at the forward part and fail at the backward part, and so you would be stuck in the forward position. Okay, so how do you protect yourself against that? Well, here's what I did. I went up to my project and I created a new directory. Okay, and I called this old copy of DB. Okay, and where's old copy of DB? It's right here. And then I just went down to my database file and I copied it. I did a copy and I pasted it up here. Okay, so now if I get the database in some kind of odd state, I can go back and restore the database to a prior state. You could also do this with your version control system. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Let's do a little bit of testing here. Okay. All right. What's it look like? So first of all, you need to turn on manage.py. Okay. And let's see where we are with the migrations. Do a show migrations. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. We're applied through 6, but we haven't applied 7. Okay. Let's look at the state of the database. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up SQLite Studio. Okay. And that's over here. You bring this over. It was on another monitor. And I'm working in the production version. Okay. And it always helps when I've been changing things to come down here and refresh the selected database schema. Okay, and what we're about to do is we're about to add a field to semester. So let's look at semester. And right now it just says if semester ID, semester name. Okay, there's no year or period. Okay, and look at the data. We've got the semester ID and the semester name. Okay, so what are we going to do in our test? Well, let's look at that. We should be here. We should just be adding the year column, and the default should be 9999, right? Well, let's give it a run. So let's say migrate course info 0007. And it says, oh, it was applying that. That was great. So let's go look. All right. So we should be able to come back to SQLite Studio, and we should be able to refresh it. And here we are. Okay. So what's on the semester table now? Well, we still have the semester name because we haven't dropped it yet. But the year is connected to year 9999 because that was the default. Pretty cool. Okay, can we back that out? Well, let's see that get backed out. How could we back that out? Well, show migrations. Okay, we're applied through 7. Let's say migrate course info. Sorry, 3 zeros and a 6. And it has unapplied number 7. All right, let's go back and see what it did to the external database. Let's just refresh it. There it is. That extra column's gone. It really backed out that change. Okay? Now, the cool thing is that the migration engine knows how to do these things in reverse. I'd say that's pretty special. Okay? That would take me a lot of coding. Okay. Now, let's see where we are. All right, let's do the next one. I'm not going to walk you through the testing, but you'll get the idea here from this. So let's just take the next one, all right, and uncomment that. Okay. All right, and again, where are we with the migrations? Show migrations. We're only through 006. Let's apply this new version of 7. Okay. At this point, I use the up arrow. There's migrate to 7. Enter. It migrated to 7 just fine. All right. Let's take a peek on SQLite Studio and see what's happened there. So, if we refresh this, you can see, oh, at this point, the 2 changes have been made. We've added the year and the period, and they have the default values of 999. Okay, that's good. And I just want to prove that we can back those out. So let's go back to let's go back to 6. Okay, and it unapplied them. And again, just so that you get a good feel for how it should work, if we go back to SQLite Studio and we refresh that, both of those new fields or columns are gone. Why? Well, because we backed out the conversion. All right, so let's go a little bit further. Okay, let's run the actual conversion of the semester table. So let's add that. That's a run Python, right? So let's toggle that out, and let's come down and let's run it forward. Migrate to 7. It says that it applied it, and that worked fine. Great. Now, we should expect quite a few changes here. Okay. So let's look at this. Let's refresh. And what's interesting is that these are no longer connected to 9999. They are actually, we've actually gone through and connected them to the proper row in the year table and the period table. Isn't that sweet? Now, what if we were to back that out? It should put it back to the point where we have the year ID and we have the period ID, but they're the default values. Let's go see if we can make that happen. Okay, so let's reverse it. So we have 7 applied. Let's say go back to 6. Okay, so 6 is applied, not 7. And go back to SQLite Studio and refresh it. Oh, I see. We're all the way back to the beginning. Okay. Yeah, we are. We don't go back to the step before. We go all the way back to where we were at the end of 6. All right. Now let's go one further. Okay. I guess I'm going to show you all the testing. It's not going to take that much longer. Okay. So I've got 2 more. I'm going to apply these at the same time. Okay. One is to get rid of the last row of get rid of the temporary value in a period and the temporary row in year. So I'm going to uncomment them. Okay. And I'm not sure we've really looked at the temporary value in those, but let's look at period, and let's look at the data, and it has the temporary value. Okay, and then let's look at year and look at the data, and it has a temporary value there. All right. Well, if we apply these 2 migration operations, both of those rows should be gone. So let's see that works. Okay, so let's go to number 7, and it said it applied it. Okay, all right, that should be good. And let's look at this, and let's refresh. Did we get rid of the phony year? Yes, we did. Okay, let's take a look at the period. Did we get rid of the phony period? Yes, we did. It's beautiful. Okay. All right. So let's go here. We tested those 2 forward, right? We have to prove that we can back them out. So we need to come down here and say, well, let's go back to migration 6. And it didn't seem to have a problem there. All right. Okay. So here, here's where we, these next 2 should work together. Okay. So the second one, which is the action we really want to take, we just want to drop the semester name field or column. Okay, we've already used it. All right, so we can discard it. We don't want it hanging around as some kind of ancient artifact. But before we do that, in order to do this backwards, it's going to have to add some kind of a default value. Okay, it's going to have to put something back. It's going to have to put the temporary value back. Okay. It just has to do that. All right, that's fine. Now, so we have to tell it that there's a default temporary value. Well, that's not too bad. We're eventually, we're dropping this field, so we don't really care what we said about it before we dropped it. Okay. Now, will this work? This should work just like it does right here. Okay. Unfortunately, it doesn't. And it didn't work last year either. Okay, so we want to go to level 7. There's a 7. Did it go forward? Yeah. It went forward. That's fine. Will it go backward? Let's go to level 6. Boom! Unique constraint failed. Well, we got rid of the unique constraint. Okay? If you look at what we did, we got rid of the unique constraint. You don't see it here. And we gave it a default value. What's the problem here? The problem here is it didn't listen. That's all I can say. Why didn't it? Well, there's probably some operation that we could do right after this change that is kind of the equivalent of listen up. Okay, but I don't really know one. What can we do instead? Well, we can take this change and we can just move it all the way back to the beginning. Yeah, well, that's why I showed this in 2 different places. So here I'm just going to get rid of it here. Okay, and we're going to go back to the beginning. Back to the beginning. And remember, this is the same thing that I said. I was eventually going to come back and reactivate that. Okay? So that's what we got right there. All right. So we've got that up there. All right. Now, are we ready to test? No, we have this converted forward and we never converted it back. Oh, that's a shame. Well, what could we do? Well, you know what we could do? We could just take the old copy of the database and we could copy it on top of the real copy. So we're going to copy this. This is the old copy of the database, and then we're just going to go up to the project as a whole. That's where the database is, and say we want to paste it. And we say, okay, use the same name. And it says, oh, it already exists. Do we want to overwrite it? Yes, we want to overwrite it. Okay, so this actually gets me back to the state of the database where I'm only applied up through migration 6. How do I know that? Well, let's just say show migrations. And I'm only applied through 6. Okay, that's good. So now that we have taken this this migrations alter field and put it up at the top where we shouldn't have to put it, but we do. This is the position that it came in the file that I gave you, the starter file. Okay, it was here. It wasn't in the later place. Now it should work. Okay, so how do we test it? Well, we go to 7. Well, that worked the last time, but can we go back to 6? Let's look. 6. Yep, worked just fine. All right. All right, that's fine. Now what have we got left? Well, let's see. We've got we're going to get rid of the default value for year. We're going to get rid of the default value for period, and then we're going to add the unique together. Now, I'm not going to do those one at a time. You get the idea how you test these. Either you build it one at a time and you test them as you go, or you build all of them, which is, I think, probably harder to do. And you put all but one into a comment and you test your way through. You have to be able to prove that at any step you can go either forward or backward. Okay, so I'm going to uncomment all of these. All right. And I'm going to come down here. And I just wanted to confirm that we're at level 6. Yeah, we're at level 6. And I want to apply to level 7. Okay, that seems to work. And let's just prove that we can unapply it. Yeah, well, we can unapply it. And let's reapply it, level 7. Okay, and then let's go and do a last, let's take a last look at all of the tables that we're concerned about. So the period table, that's what we see here. Well, that still has the extra row is gone. The year table, again, if we refresh it, the extra row for the phony year is gone. Okay. The semester table, if we refresh it, the semester name is gone now, and the year ID and the period ID are pointing to their proper values in the year table and the period table. So this is all done. Now, doesn't it seem like a lot of work to convert 9 rows? Yeah. But the reason that we did this way is we wanted to give you the skills to do this kind of a database conversion on a much larger table. Okay, a row that might, a table, that might have 900 rows, or it might have 9,000, or 900,000, or 9 million. Okay, so we've taken a very comprehensive approach that will allow you to convert a table and do it in place, not by hand, but automatically in place. And there's a way to do it. It takes a lot of care, but it's really going to pay off if you have a lot of data. Okay, and the really nice thing here is that you can test this in your test implementation, right? And then you can take that same migration and you can deploy it to your production server, and then you can go, in fact, use the migration to convert your production data, which again could have thousands or potentially millions of rows that you definitely would. When you look at something like this, you say to yourself, I could convert this by hand. Okay, but the fact is, in a more typical record-keeping environment, the numbers would make that infeasible. Okay, now we're almost done, but we're not absolutely done. Okay. We've changed the data. Now we need to test. Okay, so let's do a test. Let's do a run server. Okay, now it says that port already in use. Oh, that's not good. All right. Will that work? Well, yeah, I think that'll work. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So let's look at the run server. Nope, that's not working. Oh, I know what's wrong. Um, I have got another copy of PyCharm up that has the other, and it's got the server going too. Okay, so let's try this again. Let's try run server. Okay, and it says yeah, all right. And let's click, and it came up on another monitor, which is pretty good because it was disappointing. What's wrong? Well, we changed the semester model class, but there are certain other parts of our code that were depending upon us having a field semester name on the semester model class, and it's gone now. Oh, okay. So where's the first one that's gone? Well, this one's particularly hard to find. This one, I went, it took me a long time to, oh, well, this isn't so bad. If you come all the way down to the bottom, you can see in this that in models.py at line 153, we are returning a value in the string method that includes semester name. Well, we don't have those and have that anymore. Oh, okay. Well, let's go find that problem and fix that. Okay, so let's give ourselves a little more room. So let's go to models. Let's open it all the way. Models, semester. Okay. So, oh, it's not in this part. It's on line 153, isn't it? So, it's on a section. So a part of the representation that we have for section is that we have the course number, the section name, and the semester name. Okay. And so what are we going to do for that? Well, I'm just going to go and find my code for that in my already chosen version. And I'm going to say that here's what we want. We want to say this. We want to take the field on a section, on self, because we're on a section instance, and we want to take the semester field, and we want to get a string representation of it. So we're going to call string. We got too many parentheses there. Okay, that's all we want to do. Okay, that's what we used to have in semester name. Now we're going to point to the semester and say we just want the string representation of yourself, which we've already set to bring us the semester name. Okay, so let's take that and let's go back and try the test again. And it worked. Okay, so the reason it blew up right away is that by default we go to the section list, okay? And the names of sections include the names of semesters, and we were blowing up on this part. But now we're doing just fine. Okay. All right. Well, we've come along. Are we all the way done? Um, Not quite. So let me find the other error and I'll be right back with it. Okay. This is a pretty odd situation. Here's a situation in which I can't trigger a coding error that I know is there. Why that's true, I don't know. But let's go find the error and we'll fix it in my code and your code, and then we'll see what it's supposed to be. Okay, so let's close that and let's go and open the template section detail.html. Okay, and on section detail.html, you might have. Oh, it seems to work. Well, we do have the right amount. We do have semester. Okay, so that's not broken, but just make sure. Okay, on section detail.html. I don't know how this seems to have gotten confused here. Make sure that here I have it on line 29 that that we're not saying semester dot semester name, but we are just saying semester. Okay. How that already seems to be fixed when I didn't think it was going to be fixed, I don't know. All right. So once you've got that going, you should be fine. In which case, let's just go back. Section detail. Yeah. Okay. So if we just go to sections, and then we pick a section, and the semester is coming out just fine. 2018 fall. All right, good. So no problem there. Okay. All right. Now, what about all the semester code that we had? We had a bunch of a semester code that we built. Okay, if we just click on semesters, let's look at semester list. Does that seem to be working? Yeah, that does seem to work. 2018, 2019, 2020. Okay, that's fine. Now, what if we go to create a new semester? Okay. Look, we picked the year and the period. Okay. We used to type in the semester name. Why? How's this already changed? Well, because of the fact that we used a model form. Okay, because our forms are a subclass of model form. This happens automatically. Okay, when we come back, it knows what changes have happened in the model. Isn't that beautiful? So let's see here. What if we try to add 2018 spring again? Create semester. Well, no, it won't do it. It's a duplicate. Now, if you really look at what we have here, 2018, 2019, and 2020, and in the periods, we've got spring, summer, and fall. Okay, now let's look at the list of semesters. Well, we don't have any more possibilities, do we? So, how could we create more possibilities to add a semester? Well, let's just add the year 2017. And how do we do that? Well, you remember we need to be an admin to do it. Okay, so admin. And we go into the admin app as a tester. Okay, and let's go to years. Okay, and let's add a year, and let's add 2017. Okay, and there we are. All right, let's just go back to the custom application, and let's go to semesters. Okay, and let's create a new semester. Let's create 2017 spring. Great. It seems to have worked fine. So let's go to semesters, and let's create another new semester. 2017 summer. And look at semesters again. We've got those two. And then let's add fall. Create a new semester, 2017 fall. And there you go. All done. So what if we want to take a semester like 2017 fall and change it? If we click on edit, that's also changed. Okay. What if we want to do delete? Okay. Let's say 2017 fall. Let's try to delete it. Well, it's fine. There's nothing connected to it. There are no sections that use this a semester, so it's just going to ask this, are we sure we want to delete it? And in this case, if we said delete, it would delete it. So 2017 fall is gone, so let's recreate it. 2017 fall. And there it is. So because of the fact that we used model form classes when we created our forms, which is kind of the version with the highest level of Django magic when it comes to forms. The forms that we use in create and edit, they just change. When you change the model class, the forms just simply change. It's beautiful. So at this point, we should have made all the semester changes that are to be made. We migrated them. We tested the migration. Then we went and we tested the application. We found out that we had to make a couple of changes in order to adjust for the fact that semester name had gone away. And we did a little bit of testing to make sure that all the functions worked for the new version of the semester model class, and that worked just fine too. So that's it. That is all the changes for semester, and proper testing for it, proper migration for it, and I wish you luck with that, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.